Hello movie nerds, and welcome back to Cinematic Sarcastic, a podcast that talks all things movies and television. I'm Natalie, and I'm your host. On today's episode, we're going to talk A Murder at the End of the World. This is the new FX series brought to us by the same creators of The OA, Britt Marling and Zal Batmanlij. Now, The OA is probably one of my top series. If I'm thinking about it, it is my Roman Empire. If anyone follows that trend that had been going around recently, I think about The OA a lot. That story is just stuck in my brain. I really wish that they had not canceled that, because now it's just sort of open-ended and left where it is, and I am left forever wanting to know what happens. I very much enjoy this duo in terms of storytelling, again, because I fell in love with the OA from the very first second of the very first episode. I think it was just brilliant storytelling. They lost me a little bit with the octopus thing, I'm not gonna lie, but the rest of it I thought was pretty great. So when I heard that they were doing another collaboration and coming out with A Murder at the End of the World, I was expecting great things. So I potentially might have gotten into this with too high of expectations, but I don't know. We'll have to see. You guys are gonna have to let me know what you think. So Murder at the End of the World is essentially following a character called Darby Hart, and she is what I would consider an incredibly young person. She's Gen Z, so I want to say when we're introduced to her, she's going to be in her early 20s. And she is sort of this incredibly smart hacker who also, as a side gig, does criminal investigation. Now, she's not a criminal investigator. She doesn't have any sort of training or education in terms of doing that as a job. The only kind of thing that she knows about it is that her father is a medical examiner, or he, works with dead bodies, I guess, in a morgue. And so she kind of has followed along with him. He has taken her to crime scenes and stuff, which I don't know. I don't know that would have ever been allowed, but television series. So Murder at the End of the World for me is going to be one of those sort of television series where if you are capable of sitting and watching a TV show or a movie that is true crime related, or a mystery, any of those, A Haunting in Venice or Clue, anything like that. If you can watch those and your brain isn't going a million miles an hour trying to figure things out or trying to understand what they're doing, you will like this. If your brain doesn't do that, I think that the show is decent. If you are an overthinker, which I am, there are going to be a lot of things in this that are going to make your eye twitch a little bit. So I don't really know that much about the hacking side of anything. If there are any listeners that really do kind of know hacking and all of that stuff, please let me know if this show is even at all remotely accurate as far as hacking and stuff goes. But as far as the criminal investigation stuff, to me, this is very amateur hour. Nothing about it screams to me like it is realistic or real life. There is, I hope this isn't a spoiler, I don't think it is, but there is kind of a flashback in one of the episodes. There are only 2 out so far, but there is a flashback in one of the episodes where her dad takes her to a crime scene when she's probably a teenager, and it is a body that is all bone, so there's no tissue left, it's just bone, that has been partially shown by an excavator. So they have big machinery that obviously is at it, digging for commercial purposes, whatever, and uncovers a body. Now, when they get there, it's only partially uncovered. So you're only seeing maybe the top level of what the excavator would have taken out, and there are bones there. The police officer immediately tells them there's no identification and no wallet. Sir, How would you know that? Like, they haven't dug her out of the ground. Her bones are still in there. Like, she's not been processed. The scene has not been processed in any way, shape, or form. Like, how would you know that? And this police officer is just letting them walk in with their shoes, and like, they're not keeping the scene contained in any way, shape, or form. Like, it's just not realistic for me in terms of how a medical examiner or how a situation like that would be handled. And pretty much all of the crime stuff is similar to that. So same scenario, same body. The character of Darby finds a pair of silver earrings on this body, takes 2 minutes of her day walking around her high school, seeing like what kind of earrings the teenage girls wear. And she's like, these cannot possibly be these victims' earrings. How do you know that, ma'am? Like, for one, no identification. So you wouldn't know specifically how old this particular person was. You could have an age range, but you wouldn't really know. And even if it was somewhat close to yours, how do you know the earrings aren't her mom's or her grandmother's or handed down to her, through the family? How would you know that? You wouldn't. But she takes it as absolute fact that these earrings cannot possibly be the victims, and therefore the killer must be changing earrings. Like, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. But the fact that it's Britt Marling just, it's frustrating to me, because I don't know if it's just like the criminal elements of this are not meant to be realistic. Like, if it's not meant to be the bigger picture, because if I'm thinking of something like the OA, there was so much else going on there that like what was really happening wasn't necessarily what you were seeing happen. So part of my brain is like, oh, maybe that's what's happening. Like, maybe I just haven't reached the episode yet because we're still very early on in the television series. Like, maybe I just haven't hit the episode where I'm like, light bulb, oh my gosh, of course, this is what's been going on. All of this stuff doesn't really matter. But so far, I'm not sold on it. Like, I'm not sold on this being great. Like, to me, there still is the possibility that this might be a dud, or it might not turn out to be as great as what I have in mind of what I think it should be, considering who the writers are for the television show. But as far as like what the production value is and stuff of the television show, it's quite good. They have a really great cast. Clive Owen is in this. Alice Braga is in this. Britt Marling obviously plays in this. Harris Dickinson is in this as well. And I enjoy his character of Bill a lot in this show. But other than that, like, the production quality is great. The story is just somewhat lacking for me in terms of believability aspect, I guess. But I don't know, again, if that matters. Like, I'm still interested enough in the show to want to know what happens, but I'm slightly concerned that this is going to end up like the Steve Carell show that I did a review on last year, where he was like kidnapped by a serial killer, and I thought it was going to be this great, thrilling, like sort of semi-scary television show, and it turned out not to be that at all, and it was just kind of a dud. And I'm hoping that A Murder at the End of the World isn't that, because I have so much faith again in Britt Marling and just the duo of them together, that her and Zal would not do something that just isn't great, And it seems like everyone is liking it. Like, so far, the reviews are quite good, but I don't know. I'm just not 100% sold on it yet. You guys are going to have to definitely let me know what you think of this series so far. Subscribe if you want to join the Movie Nerd family, and I hope to see you in the next episode.